Hi, my name's Luke. Some of you may know me as an English teacher, others of you don't. And in that case, hi, my name's Luke. I teach English online to a wide variety of people. In predominance, it's usually advanced students, and what I want to do for today for some of my students and for anyone that's interested is to sort of do a little talk over whilst the video is playing and discuss what's being said, why the individual sort of says certain words in a particular way. This video might be a little difficult to follow, so do bear with me. I will try to explain most of it. And what we're going to be listening to is a comedian from about 10-15 years ago talking about a game show. This voice is from Bolton, which is towards Manchester. It's in what's historically known as Lancashire, which doesn't exist anymore, but it's that region of the UK. What we'll be looking at is his expressions, his sound of the words that he's using, and maybe you can sort of hear how he says them compared to how I say them. It will be a bit different, but it's also good to hear because you'll hear a consistency with some of the words he's saying, and I will give other examples as we go along. So that's enough from me. Let's begin.
Bullseye, Sunday afternoon. I used to love Bullseye, It were weird Bullseye.
Okay, so we've already begun here, and he's already said, Bullseye, I love Bullseye me. Very much a sort of Bolton way of expressing like your admiration towards something, or when you're referring to yourself, is to end it with me. Very much a specific thing for this sort of area. Manchester, so Mancunians would maybe do this as well. It's a sort of more northern thing or way of saying this. Other parts of the UK may do this as well. Can't be exclusive to just this one area, but it is maybe something that may confuse some speakers. Go, why did you say me at the end? It's just the way they say it there. If you're from a country like Brazil, sometimes you may know that certain areas they sort of end a sentence where they talk about themselves with maybe a different sort of vernacular or term at the end. So it's just one of those examples.
Because it was shit and it were good.
Okay, so I love Bullseye me because it was both shit and it was good. What's fun about this is that he's immediately used a very common word that you'll hear English speakers cut completely, and that's the word and. Hot and cold, tall and short, anything really with in it. Hot and spicy. Another example there. So what you often hear is English speakers, if we're talking about something and something, do you hear how I immediately went something and something? We don't say and, we go un. The un sound is very much part of our voice. Do I recommend it for ESL speakers? Not really, because it's more of a localized vernacular. If you're trying to sound a bit more proper, it's best to say and it's more to do with speed as well, and it's best to make sure that you're still sounding proficient and competent than trying to get to this point of dropping it. It will come naturally. It comes naturally to us. It will come naturally to ESL students as well with time, where you're speaking so quickly that you're starting to drop sounds and you will know where to drop them. But all the same, it's good to know when you hear this sound, it's usually an and.
Honest to God, you knew where you stood with Bullseye. And every week, my sister used to say, how did they split a car between them?
Okay, so on this game show that he's talking about from the 80s called Bullseye, they would have two contestants, which he will discuss in a moment, and they would always have to split the prizes. And they would win a car. As he's about to point out, how do you split a car? How do you split a house? Whatever. How do you split something like that? Bullseye, by the way, is very much an 80s game show through and through. Warts and all, as we say. Warts and all. Warts are like the spots that you get on your face that just don't go away. This is a sort of saying like, the truth, even if it's ugly.
When end up program, how did they split a fitted kitchen with a chainsaw? Because usually on Bullseye, they were just two people. They weren't related. They were usually from a pub.
So he says usually on Bullseye. So instead of saying usually on Bullseye, we've got a very good example here. He's just going usually on Bullseye. So he doesn't emphasize the LLY at the end, or usually, like we'd normally go, oh yeah, usually I go to the pub for example. That isn't what he's saying. He's saying usually we go to pub. Do you hear how he drops the LLY? Why? Because he's sort of going, usually we go to the pub. So it's a sort of almost morphing the sentence into one sort of sound. Lots of UK accents, especially regional ones, will compound words, especially if they are something that are maybe a bit unique in their sound to begin with. So and contextually, it just makes perfect sense why it'd be this word. And what we'll find throughout this is that especially the end parts of words he's dropping, okay, with the sound, and it just sort of morphs into the next word.
Clever one, the darts player. There were two blokes, or two women, usually couldn't tell whether women were blokes on Bullseye.
In case you're wondering, blokes is a casual term for men.
Leanne, she bit dart player, it's stonewashed denim. Love and hat, tattooed on her knuckles, because she'd lost a finger.
Okay, I'll just explain this joke there. So if you say loving that, it's a sort of more of a sort of like way of saying, oh, I love this. It's really good. But what she's, because of where he's implying that the contestants were not really, they were not maybe this, they were a bit rough around the edges. They weren't the most attractive, if you will. They weren't, they were from maybe a rougher part of the country. They wouldn't have loving that, but because she's lost one of her fingers, it says hat, H-A-T. So that's why he's sort of implying that she's lost a finger.
Valerie, a friend, she'd be answering questions. She were clever one, in maroon shell suit. 5 o'clock shadow. Sure,
Again, we've got another example here. 5 o'clock shadow. He doesn't say a 5 o'clock shadow. A 5 o'clock shadow is where you haven't shaved. Usually for some men it might be shaved in the morning, and by 5 o'clock you're starting to develop like a shadow, like the sun is setting, shadow is formed. This is about the beard slowly starting to grow through. Some people like a 5 o'clock shadow. I, for one, I like 5 o'clock shadows. They sometimes give a nice sort of edge to it, as it were, not the full clean shaven look. But he's talking about a woman, and obviously he's implying that it's not that the women look like men, so they're not, if you will, the most stereotypically attractive in this instance. I should warn people with this video, it's very much of its time.
Jim, showbiz. Showbiz I'd like, please, showbiz. Showbiz you'd like, showbiz you'd like, okay, showbiz you'd like.
So part of game shows, as you know, is all about the vernacular, it's about the terms, keeping the thing going. So let's keep talking. So what is he saying here? Showbiz you'd like, showbiz you'd like. Why is he saying showbiz you would like instead of or you'd like? So why is he saying that? It's to keep the energy going, okay? To keep people's attention. Because this game show is very primitive for, you know, it doesn't have loads of bells and whistles. It's very much, the set is the set, as it were. And he's sort of saying this is what you'd like. And what would happen is the smart one, as he's saying, would pick a subject on this big dartboard and you'd throw a dart and you'd hope that you get the one that you want. From there, when you get the one that you want, you get to answer the question about the subject. But you're hoping the darts player hits it, because if they go for a different subject, you're not getting the subject you wanted. So we shall see what happens for Valerie.
Showbiz Leanne. Woo! Spelling you've got, never mind.
So he's saying there, showbiz you'd like, spelling you got. So what would you like? What did you get? This is very much Jim Bowen's way of keeping the show alive. This is not how people talk. If you do say this in the UK, and someone is of age to remember the show or know of how Jim Bowen spoke, they will think you're talking to them like they're on Bullseye. So don't do that. That's my advice.
Spelling you've got for £4. For £4, Valerie, could you spell hermaphrodite? E-R-M-A-U-T.
Very much of his time, that joke.
Hermaphra. I'll have to rush you, Valerie. I'll have to rush you, son.
A casual way of saying to a guy is to just refer to him as son. You know, I have to rush your son. Obviously, hermaphrodite, because as we know what hermaphrodite, if you don't know what hermaphrodite means, Google it, please. I'm not going to start going into what that is, but long story short, he's implying that Valerie is a hermaphrodite, and he will do this joke throughout this video.
When they run out of time on spelling, do you remember Bully used to walk across bottom at telly with a big dictionary?
Bully, by the way, is the mascot of the show. It was because it's bullseye, like to get a bullseye is to get the center point of a darts board. Bull is the English name for toro, so obviously the emblem and the title is about a bull, as it were. So he's about to talk about what bullseye, which was the mascot, would do.
Jim could see him. Thanks for that, Bully. Thanks for that. Jim smacked off his tits. Don't know what day it is.
Okay, so I'm going to go into what smacked off your tits means. So there's two expressions in English that we predominantly used about this, smacked off your tits and get off my tits. Now, get off my tits means get off my chest, get off my back, stop bothering me. This is used by both men and women, despite the fact that the word tits is a slang expression for breasts, for women, or female breasts. Now, what's interesting is Peter Kay said he smacked off his tits, which implies he's high on drugs, he's inebriated, he's doing heroin. I'm not too sure if YouTube's going to allow me to say that out loud. I don't care. So what he's implying there with smacked off your tits is this idea that he is seeing an animated cartoon bull moving across the bottom, and he's going, oh God, and Jim would always sort of acknowledge him, and you'd think, you can see a cartoon character, how high are you, how inebriated are you? So what he's saying there is he's high off his tits. So it's an implication of the idea that for what Jim Bowen is saying is that he's completely off it, as it were, which isn't, it's stupid if nothing else. So yeah, if you say you're smacked off your tits, it means you're usually inebriated, heroin, which, by the way, carries a casual slang name of smack. With that.
Bum ba bum ba bum ba bum bum. Okay, you're through to Bully's prize board. Valerie, Leanne, come this way, boys.
Okay, come this way is just another way of saying come with me.
Okay, now you're 40 pounds, that's safe. That's going nowhere. Back pocket at Farah.
Now you've got the time it takes the board to revolve. What do you want to do? You can ask the audience. Come on, ask the audience. What do you reckon? Well, we've had a right good day, you've had a right good day, you know. Really enjoyed ourselves. Just being away from centre for a few hours is a blessing, you know. Because Leanne's electronically tagged.
Okay, so I'm going to have to pause there just for a moment because this is getting a bit ridiculous. But what he's talking about is centre and being electronically tagged, implying that they're both maybe just on day release from prison. This is something that the UK does. Very much of its time, sort of electronically tagged, as it were, not of the 80s, but much more of the early 2000s. And something that would be a way to ensure curfew for these people to be back at home, because usually it's sort of like a release that they are allowed to be out during the day, but they must be at home during night. Maybe it's part of their parole agreement to get, to be reintroduced into society. Usually after a sort of smallish crime, but they maybe had to do a bit of time, or maybe there's part of the agreement to make sure they're not up to no good during the night. But yeah.
What? We're going to gamble, Jim. We're going to go for it. We're going to gamble. Let's have a look at the prizes, shall we? In one, kids won't have to suffer mum's roller cola anymore.
Okay, so prize one is he's offering something that's going to be better than Roller Cola. Roller Cola is like an inferior product to Coca-Cola in the 80s. You can't. I don't think you can find roller cola anymore. But it was very bad from what I've heard.
With this fantastic soda stream. And Bully's special prize! A speedboat, always a speedboat. Where do they live? Tamworth. 200 miles.
It's speedboat. Did you hear how he says a speedboat? A bit like how he said earlier with shadow. It sort of, it drops that sound. It's just a lot of sounds in this sort of part of the UK. This is, again, as I said, it's just the way that people say the sound, as it were. It's a bit like when there's this famous video of someone saying tomorrow as opposed to tomorrow. There is just ways that people say it, that's all. This is one of those with speedboat.
At sea. When they used to lose on Bullseye, what did Jim Bowen used to say? Let's have a look at what you could have won, yes, my friend.
Let's have a look at what you could have won.
So let's look at what you could have won. So could have is not something that has happened. So here's what you could have won. Not that you did win it. So he's almost showing you stuff that you are not going to get now, but if you had been successful, this is what you would have got.
You can win the down, Jim. Rub a bit of salt in wound, my friend.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat that again just so you can all hear that. So, because it's very important, because there's two expressions in that.
Yes, my friend.
Let's have a look at what you could have won.
Kick and win the down, Jim. Rub a bit of salt in wound, my friend.
Okay, so we've got two expressions. Kick them when they're down, which means when someone's already at their lowest point or in some way been insulted, the last thing you want to do to them is kick them even more. Just let them be, okay? They've already lost. They don't need more. Rub salt into the wound. So rubbing salts into a wound was a old way of thinking, oh, it will remove infections or stop infections settling in. But it used to, or does, if you ever do this, sting a lot. So it hurts even more to do that to the injury. So the injury is going to feel a lot worse before it feels better. This is a little bit of it's a bit cruel with what he's saying, but it does make sense with what he's saying as well, because he's saying, you know, don't rub salt on the wounds, don't kick them when they're down. Come on, Jim, be fairer to them, is what he's trying to say.
Let's have a look.
He's bring speedboat on and show it them.
Bring it on, boys. Boom, 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 boom. Take it back now, take it back.
So take it back means send it back, return it to where it came from.
We'll not see that again, you've shit out, take it back.
Your shit out means you're shit out of luck. Shit out of luck means you have no luck. Sem sorchi, whatever you want to say, as it were. Unfortunately, not going to get it.
Let's have a look at what you could have won.
I always think you make a really bad priest at a wedding, Jim Bowen.
I know you pronounce your man and wife, the power invested in me. Gary, Julie. Okay, Gary, before you whisk Julie off to Tenerife, it's over there.
Whisk. Interesting word there. He said before you whisk Julie off to Tenerife. Whisk can be two things as a verb. Whisk as in like eggs. You can whisk them in a bowl, you know, if you're making a cake. But also good to whisk someone away. It's almost like to take them off their feet and take them to a faraway place. It's a very nice word, whisk, in that sense. He's using it before you whisk her away to Tenerife, like before you take her off her feet and you go to the airport and travel to Tenerife.
Okay.
Let's have a look at what you could have married.
Oh, you slipped up there. She's 16, she's Filipino. Take her back, boys.
Boom, 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 boom. Don't worry, you've still got your bendy bullies. And your £40, it'll take me the commercial break to count it out.
It's 40 quid, Jim.
So I'm not going to go to the whole 16-year-old Filipino bit, just of its time, and even then I would say it's a bit much. But I will talk about the word quid. We don't say bucks in the UK, we say quid because that's what it is. Comes from quid pro rata, from quid pro quo, which means of a standard rate. So £1 is 1 quid, as it were. 2 quid, 3 quid, 4 quid. So someone might say to you, hey, have you got a quid on you? Which means, do you have £1 on you? Which is the local currency in the UK.
What is it in? 2 P's?
Okay, so we're at an end there with Peter Kay, who is a very successful comedian in the UK. He does have a very large following and is very much admired and liked by people of varying class and levels of society, because he's very much an everyman sort of comedian. Do I think he's always right? Do I really recommend more? It's good for learning the language. Maybe some of the stuff he's talking about might be a bit not of good taste, but it's still sometimes, as you can see, it's quite good. What I do find impressive with him, though, is that he definitely doesn't really try to adopt a sort of acceptable RP voice. He really leans into that Bolton heritage. He is very much of Bolton, proud and proudly from Bolton. Most of his shows, I think, are set in that area of the world as well. So he very much shows that area as a cultural spot for him, and it is very much recognisable when you hear his voice. As I said at the beginning, my name's Luke. I am an English teacher. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If there was anything that people didn't understand, I really would like to hear it. If you have any input, please, by all means, really would enjoy to hear that, in terms of like if you notice something and you're not sure about it. I will leave a link to this full video below, because it might be easier for people to watch it fully and then come to this, and so on and so forth. That I completely understand. If you want more information about my teaching, please just let me know, and I'll leave links to that below. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye.